Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Space. I am Georgia Rose, your psychic astrologer and founder of the Zenkuda Soul Community. So, welcome. I'm usually live every Monday at 7. Today, I am pre recording. I am in my den or my library in my home, and I do a lot of writing and a lot of healing work in this room. So, I love it when I get to broadcast from here. Actually, there's no air conditioning in the studio tonight, so I'm doing this at home for Monday. And it is really hot here in the Northeast, which is fitting because we have a lot of planets and fire signs. And today we're going to talk about the August astrology. So I'll give everybody a few minutes to settle in and visit me here in the Soul Space. Like I said, I'm here every Monday at 7 o'clock. Not only am I an astrologer and a psychic astrologer, which means I read a chart with psychic intuition and also practice evolutionary astrology, but I'm also a realtor. I've been a real estate broker for 30 years, and I practice on the Long Island area of New York. And yeah, if you're looking for a soulful realtor, someone to help you find your soul space, give me a call. You can reach out to me on any of my social media platforms or Georgia Westcott, as I'm known in the real estate world. So, welcome tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about the August astrology, and I'm going to dive deep into the transits that we're going to be feeling the first half of August. Generally speaking, August is a fiery month. We have two planets, Neptune and Saturn in Aries, which is a fire sign. Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. So, fire in Aries is all about emerging and new energy and birthing things. And we also have Mercury in Leo, which is also a fire sign. And Leo, you know, the lion of the jungle, right? Leo energy is energy that comes in and helps us find our soul power within. It's ruled by the sun. And we have a couple of other things going on in fire signs, which we'll talk about and we'll dive in. So let's get to that first. And then if we have time later on, I'll give you some affirmations for this energy. And also we'll talk about some things that we can do because some people are finding this energy a little bit harsh. And, you know, Uranus just switched signs, and Uranus is the planet of sudden awakenings and shocks. I have my own Uranus stories, which if we have time today, I'll talk about. But the best way to work with this energy is realize about surrender. And we'll talk also about the lesson of surrender. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let me start with some energy of the astrology, because I know that's why most of you also tune in. You like to find out what's going on in the world of astrology. And as I always say, as above, so below, right? Whatever's going on in our sky is usually what's going on in our lives. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I am going to share my screen. So, whenever I do astrology, I just want you all to know that I am inspired by astrology. I am an evolutionary astrologer. I have been pursuing astrology for almost 15 years now and studying it deeply for the last 7, 8, 9 years. And when I say deeply, I mean I have a lot of mentors across the globe, and I spend hours and hours studying evolutionary astrology. So when I read a chart, it's inspired by those things. It's inspired by what I've learned over the years, and also about inspired by my psychic ability. And the reason why I want to point that out is because there's a lot of astrologers out there in media land. And myself, I shy away from using AI in my interpretations. You will never find my writings or my interpretations AI. I may go to AI for suggestions once in a while or to organize my own thoughts. I do believe in using it as a tool, but I never use it verbatim or to create my work. And the other part of me being psychic and an astrologer also means that I'm not a performance artist. I'm really not interested in, you know, predicting anything. I am interested in foretelling in the sense of guidance so that we know what the energy is coming in. It's sort of like I don't know, maybe a weather report, right, for the stars that you, if you know what's coming, you know how you can use it for your best and optimum potential. So if you're tuning in to hear a prediction about something, or you're tuning in because you're looking for one of these flashy influencers, you're probably on the wrong YouTube channel. But if you're looking for inspiration and guidance and some really great info on the stars and different modalities, and as far as tarot and the occult go, then you're in the right place. So let's dive into August energy. So, first thing I'm going to tell you about August energy is that August is, like I said, a fiery month, and lots of fire energy in the sky brings us certain themes. And those themes for August are going to be transformation, because think about fire. we can use it to transform, right? Fire transforms everything. For those of you who study alchemy and know that the energies can be transformed that we're dealing with at any given time, it's really a matter of mind over matter or a mindset. So August has a key theme of transformation. If we can find the clarity of where our path is headed and what we really want to do and build in our life, then this can be a really spectacular month for our transformation to get there. Because there's also a lot of energy for alignment right now. So we're going to go through it step by step. Don't worry. So the next part of our energy for this month is how do we utilize it? Well, what I'm going to say to you is Zenkuda, you're in the right place if you came over to the YouTube channel Zenkuda or any of my work, because we blend astrology with spiritual growth. I'm not looking to give you cookie cutter guidance like, oh, Aries is rebirth or Pluto is, the destroyer. No, I'm looking to give you real spiritual guidance on what each sign what each sign means and what it feels like. You can't interpret energy if you don't know what it is in your felt sense, in your body, what it feels like to go through a Uranus transit, what it feels like to have a Pluto transit. If you don't know what it feels like, you really don't know how to deal with the energy. So that's part of how I describe the astrology. So this month, we are going to blend our astrology with spiritual growth. And the key things we're going to shit on this month are shedding old patterns. And that's mostly because Pluto's in retrograde. So it's going to show us and reveal to us where the old patterns are, where the old conditioning and fears lie, so that we have an opportunity to look at them and finally get rid of them once and for all. It's also going to be a month where we embrace growth opportunities. And that's because we do have some energies changing signs this month that are going to bring in new perspectives for us. And we'll talk about that, especially with Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries, which is a fire sign, headed back to Pisces, which is a water sign. And then finally, inner reflection and conscious choice. Every energy, whether you're feeling it in your toes, your mind, your soul, wherever, in your relationships, in your career, wherever you're feeling energy, it's coming aboard your life. It's coming to awaken you. It's climbing on your train, your boat, whatever it is, to show you what needs to be looked at. So if we can go into inner reflection, it's going to lead us to conscious growth. And that's really important in an energy like we have from this month all the way to the end of this year, because there's a lot of really heavy energy and forceful energy that comes in to really force change, not only in our own lives, but in the collective of the globe. So we want to make sure that we're staying on target for the choices, right? Embracing the opportunity for growth to shed old patterns. Everything we do is a conscious choice. Even choosing to do nothing is a choice. And you don't want to do that in this energy because we've got a lot of opportunity. So we have a lot of major August transits, and I'm going to bring you their evolutionary messages in a few minutes. But I also want you to know that I'm going to be giving you some practical integration and wisdom at the end of this podcast, some affirmations and some actual rituals and exercises that you can do for some of the transits that are coming in. So like I said, there are key themes. To elaborate on those a little more, these themes are going to be around with us for a while, but in August, it's a lot of clarity and transformation happening. But the key themes that are cycling around in our energy fields right now for personal growth are karmic cycles and spiritual upgrades. We just had Uranus, the planet of sudden change, and also the great awakener, go into a brand new air sign of Gemini. That's refreshing our spiritual upgrade. It's bringing in some karmic release cycles that we can really utilize in order to move forward into our future and step out of our past. It's giving us those spiritual upgrades because what Uranus is doing in Gemini is bringing all of the knowledge that it's given us over the last 7 years when it's been in Taurus, which is about our stability, our personal resources, what keeps us safe, what kind of complexes we run that are really not the best for us, but we run them out of self-defense mechanisms. What's the best use of our energy in regards to our own resources and our stability? How can we make ourselves feel safe? Those were the lessons that started to come to a head the last 7 years when Uranus was in Taurus. And it's an earth sign, Taurus. So it was a very kind of heavy, rigid, but stabilizing energy. But now that same planet that brought us all that, wisdom, intuition, is in a new sign, which is air, Gemini. It's all about actually embodying in our mental capacity all those lessons we've learned over the last 7 years. And that's why it's a spiritual upgrade. And that's also why we're releasing old karmic cycles. Because while Uranus was in Taurus, it brought to the forefront some of our fears regarding our stability and our security. And now we can release those because we're in fresh new energy and find the ideas and the mental clarity and wisdom of what we need to do to source our own stability and find our own inner resources in order to do that. So these are personal developments and breakthroughs, and they're really going to occur quite a bit this month because we have some planets speaking to each other in conversations that bring out the old, bring it up in order for us to release it. With Pluto in a sign like Aquarius right now and retrograde, it brings in a lot of energy that helps us to do just that. So Pluto in retrograde in Aquarius has a deep metamorphosis to it for everyone on the planet. But what it's doing is working with that Uranian energy that we just described, that in the last few years has brought up to the surface where our security is and what kind of mechanisms and complexes and things we do in our life in order to be secure that maybe aren't healthy for us. And where does our true security and stability lie that's authentic and can be sourced from within and sourced in our own self-sourcing mechanisms? But now Pluto in Aquarius also gives us something really great in order to release those karmic fears and those old karmic cycles that have been coming forth the last few years. Pluto in Aquarius gives us a healthy detachment. So now we're able to look at those things that we were ruminating about the last couple of years, and all of a sudden we might feel a little different. Now we don't feel as attached to them. We don't feel as emotional about it. It's kind of more or less like, oh, I see what that is. I need to go over here instead of sitting over there anymore. I need to do this, and I suddenly feel the energy to do it. That's Pluto in Aquarius, and retrograde is going to deepen that energy. Anything that we put forth that's a challenging structure that we created in our life, that the containers we live in, the structures they're made of that maybe give us the illusion of security but are really holding us back, those fences that we think protect us that are really limiting our lives, now those are being challenged and those structures are crumbling and collapsing around us. And the reason it's doing that is to give us a great revolutionary insight and healing. If we can step into that, then we find a place that we really find a lot different energy than we've been living with for the last few years. It brings new dimension to the energy the way that we've been looking at it prior. That's Uranus working in Gemini. It brings new dimension, new perspective, new paradigms, but also new levels and frequency that we didn't know were there the last few years, especially when Pluto was in Capricorn, which was an earth sign, and Uranus was in Taurus, which was an earth sign. It was a heavy energy. We couldn't see past it. But now, with air breathing in life into Pluto and air breathing into Uranus, we can see the road ahead. We can see and glimpse the future. And what happens right now in our life at this very time is super important because it's going to repeat again next July. But the place where the sun just was for the last new moon that we had, Jupiter is going to be there and bring the reward and the benevolence if we listen to what's going on in our life right now and embrace that spiritual growth that's challenging the structures around us. This is all about revolutionary insight and healing. Can you tell Mercury and 5 planets are retrograde? I can't even talk straight today. So Saturn and Neptune also play into this energy. Remember a moment ago, I was just talking about the structure of our lives and the containers, more or less, that we build. And sometimes we build those containers on false images that we think is security, but in actuality, it's really limiting us and holding us back. Well, Saturn is the planet that helps us create those structures. And the reason why we're going through these energies right now where those structures are being challenged and changed is because for a long time when Pluto was in Capricorn, it was ruled in the sign that's ruled by Saturn. And one of the things Saturn does when it helps us to structure and create our containers, the structures we live in, the institutions we abide by, the laws, the rules. One of the things that Saturn does is it bases those things on our conditioning. Somewhere along the line, we were all told to behave a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way, right? And we hold those energies within us. And what they do is they play out in judgment and fear of something unknown because we are taught from a very young age that the known, getting along with the crowd, wearing the uniform you're supposed to wear, wearing the mask you're supposed to wear, living in the house you're supposed to live in, driving the car you're supposed to live in, going to the college you're supposed to go, having the career you're supposed to do, having a family, raising children, getting married, all of these milestones. At a very young age, we're taught not to deviate from those things. And they're different for all of us, depending on what cultures and geographic locations and belief systems we grew up in. Saturn is what creates those in our chart, wherever Saturn is. When I do a reading, it's not cookie cutter. The readings I do are personalized. We look at your chart to find out exactly what your soul's mission and path is. Well, wherever Saturn is in the chart gives me a really good clue and a really good knowing of exactly what your conditioning is, what your framework is, the containers and the institutions you built your life on. But now Saturn has met up with Neptune, and they're both in fire sign Aries, which Aries is the new number one first house sign of the zodiac, new emerging energy. When we hit Aries, we're starting the chart all over again. The 0 degree mark of Aries is rebirth. It's brand new. It's independence. It's freedom. So now Neptune and Saturn are both there. Neptune is at 2 degrees of Aries and Saturn is 1 degree of Aries. They're both retrograde. Now, when a planet is retrograde, like Pluto is right now, like Mercury is right now, like Saturn is right now, like Neptune is right now, planets become more powerful because they're closer to the Earth. So we feel them more. So Saturn and Neptune are, you would think, working at cross purposes because Neptune is the dissolution of boundaries. Saturn is the creation of the structures and the containers. So you would think when two energies like this came together that it would cause friction, that we'd be like jumping up and down like, oh, I want the boundary, oh, I don't want the boundary. Well, not necessarily. In an energy like this, where we've got Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius, all air signs, right? All new energy. They're fresh in their signs, all at like 1 to 2 degrees, as is Saturn and Neptune. It's going to create a colossal energy across the globe that's going to give us newness. Saturn and Neptune are going to behave like maybe they haven't before in this energy. It's new. So maybe Saturn and Neptune work together to actually create structure for places where there were never any boundaries to rein in the energy so we can really create something. And maybe Saturn and Neptune work together to bring new energy, boundless energy. You know, Neptune is infinity. It's the energy of there is no boundaries, there's nothing impossible. So just think if you could fence in that energy with Saturn. You could utilize it, right? It's like harnessing electricity, Uranus, harnessing transformation, Pluto. And that's why this energy is so potent. And when you put those two planets, Saturn and Neptune, in the beginning of the zodiac, fresh energy, rebirth, new emergence. I mean, your soul was born to be in this energy for a very, very good reason. Your chart can tell you what that is. But anyone whose soul decided that they wanted to be in this energy when you were born is taking on a whole new emergence. This is a beautiful energy that we can come into. Talk about karmic newness. Talk about releasing the old. It's almost as though we have a gift from the heavens right now to do that. Because with Pluto and Aquarius, we do have that healthy detachment. So whereas when Pluto was in Capricorn and Uranus was in Taurus, it was heavy. It was like we wallowed in it. It was like, oh, I just can't get out of this mess. Now it's like, oh, wait, I see the way out of this. You know what? I'm going for it. I'm taking the leap. I'm jumping off the cliff. And it's a beautiful energy where we can really come in to do that. I chose this photo today because I love the colors in it. The violet and the blue, the rings of Saturn. And it really almost feels like impossible, right? It feels like no boundaries, like we could just step into this photo and float forever. But we would be gravitized by the rings of Saturn. And that's why Saturn and Neptune can work together. Because Saturn doesn't allow Neptune to float out into the ethers where nothing is constructed. It brings it back and reins it in so that we can construct. And with Pluto destructing the old and these two energies helping us construct the new, we have an amazing, amazing, soulful time to really step into the purpose of whatever your life was ignited to do. So we have some major August transits and their evolutionary messages on top of the energies I just discussed, which the energies I just discussed are going to be around for a little while, especially Pluto in Aquarius is for the next 20 years. Uranus in Gemini is 7 years. Neptune and Saturn are going to dance together for the next few months, and they will go back to Pisces, giving us the connection we need to really feel not only our body and our mind, but also what our soul path really is. But there's also some individual things that are going to happen this month. Remember, I said there was a lot of fire in the sky for August. So the first thing is that we have some dynamic energy shifts. Mars will be going into a different sign this month. So we definitely want to be on top of that because Mars is going to enter Libra. Mars has been in Virgo for a little while. And remember when it was Cancer forever, almost the whole first half of 2025. But now when Mars enters Libra, there's a certain energy that will come into play. We also have a full moon, which is in Aquarius, more Aquarian energy. And it's at 16 degrees. So look in your charts where that is, 16 degrees of Aquarius. It's going to be a very potent full moon because when that full moon occurs, we have Mars opposite Neptune, which I'll get to in a minute. And these are certain celestial alignments that are going to help and also challenge the energy that I just put forth and that I just was explaining. But remember, whenever energy is challenged, it doesn't necessarily have to mean suffering. When energy is challenged, it's giving us the roadmap. It's giving us the arrow saying, this is uncomfortable. Thank you for showing me what I need to change. Thank you for showing me where the crack in the window was so that I can plug it up so that I don't get cold in winter, right? Thank you for showing me where the crack is in the driveway so that my car isn't going to hit a big speed bump, right? So remember, energy that is not in alignment, but maybe is a little bit bumpy, is good for us. It really means that we're going to be able to see exactly where we have to focus and what we have to fix, right? It's like that squeaky door. If it didn't squeak, it would probably fall off because we wouldn't know it was loose. So the first thing that's going to happen is on August 1st, Leo energy, remember I said we had a lot of fire in the sky. The Sun and Mercury, both in Leo, are going to come together. Now, we call that a cazimi in astrology. And they're coming together at 9 degrees of Leo. And this happens on August 1st. So right away, we start out the month with a really big dose of fire. And that's good because we can burn through the old karmic stuff. Because the south node of the moon has been giving us a lot of memory fields lately. I don't know if you felt it, but I certainly did. Randomly things will pop into your brain that you haven't thought about for a while. And with so many planets in retrograde lately, old people, not meaning old elderly, but old relationships, old things are all coming back in. I had a few of those recently myself. So when the Sun conjuncts Mercury on August 1st, those are powerful download days. It's a great day to use your mental acuity. If you're a writer or a painter or a drawer or anything creative, you're a channeler, you're whatever you are. August 1st and the energy leading up to August 1st is dynamic for this. I know today I sat and wrote for about 8 hours. Guys know I'm trying to get the book out, and it's just been a beautiful time for me to be so creative and so just on target with what's going on. It gives us that mental clarity we need. We've had so much fogginess when, we had Piscean energy at the beginning of the year, and now we're really starting to cook with gas, as they say. You'll also get intuitive downloads around this date of August 1st because when the Sun and Mercury come together, it's fire in our minds. It illuminates our minds, and it can also illuminate that cosmic connection we have. So if you're getting any intuitive downloads around the first of the month, make sure that you write them down, especially if you get any dreams, because we do still have Neptune very active near Saturn in a fire sign as well. And so you want to pay attention because those intuitive downloads, many times people will come to me and they'll be like, I thought something, but I think it's crazy. It's not crazy, guys. Whatever is coming into your mind is there for a reason. Look at it, interpret it, ask yourself, is this true? But you're going to get a lot of intuitive downloads on this particular Sun Mercury cazimi. And communication is enhanced. We do have 5 planets in retrograde, including Mercury right now. But what you'll find is when the Sun touches Mercury, you're better able to communicate. So if there is any conversations or emails or letters or whatever you have to write, this is a good time to do them around this time because you will have the acuity. Also, sometimes this can feel like an overload, like a reset, almost like it can feel like a download, but it can almost be like a short circuit is the word I'm looking for. And that's why I chose this picture. So it would be very interesting for me to see if AI kind of skips out a little bit that day or something, or some site goes down because so many people are using it or something like that. It'd be really interesting to see if that happens. So the next thing that happens on August 7th is Mars enters Libra. And this is actually a good energy for us, even though Mars, doesn't love Libra. But Mars in Libra will give us the balance because, like I said, we have a lot of fire energy around. We have a lot of energy in retrograde. The chart is kind of like bouncing and waving and weaving. So, the balancing act that Mars entering Libra will give us is really good. This is also going to create a forward movement or some kind of movement in relationships. Now, when I say forward movement, I don't necessarily mean it doesn't have to be an engagement or a partnership. It can also be breakups as well. Because Mars, of course, is our ambition, our aggression. It's also our assertion. So if you're looking for a good time to propose to somebody, it would be around now because you got the inertia to do it. But Mars in Libra is asking us to embrace our balance. And remember, we were talking just a few minutes ago about burning through that old karmic stuff that Pluto and the other planets are bringing forward for us, right? Where's our security? Where's our stability? How are those things played out in the old conditioning? Well, now this energy helps us balance what we do want to build in the future and what we want to keep from the past and what we need to let go of. We don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. This is really going to give us the harmony we need to think about with diplomacy. Where is it that we really want to change our life and what do we need to build in a really assertive way? Remember, construction. This can also be really cooperative activity and action if you're working in partnership with somebody or if you are looking to have a conversation with someone that maybe is going to lead to something futuristic as far as your relationship, a moving in together or a breakup or something. It is a good time to have those conversations, especially between August 1st and 7th, because with the Mercury and the Sun together, and the way the planet lineup is when Mars enters Libra, it's going to give us that balancing that we need. Um, and also the next day, Mars trines Uranus. So do expect that you will see movement in relationships. And when I say relationships, that can be business partnerships, it can be romantic partnerships, it can be, children and parents, familial, siblings, any kind of relationship, and everything that we relate to. But because Mars enters that Libran energy, it's all about balance and harmony. And the real lesson of Libra is not balance and harmony externally. It's really about our own balance and harmony with the way we relate to the world. So keep that in mind. If you're thinking of having those conversations or making a change or a movement in a relationship, either, moving in or moving out, think about what is right for you. Think about where the harmony and balance is for you inside, not what's right to do externally. We're trying to burn through that old conditioning, remember? So really do some soul searching and soul sourcing in this energy. When Mars trines Uranus the day after Mars enters Libra, that is definitely an energy of, it's a good energy, it's a harmonic energy, but it's going to be action. It's not going to be like, oh, let's, go take a nap. When Mars trines Uranus, it will bring about some kind of activity or event in the area of the chart that it touches. All right. So just keep that in mind. And you want to always display assertiveness and balance. Mars, can be the god of war. So you want to really think about what you're doing in this energy. And that is August the 7th. Um, and then on August 9th, we have this beautiful, beautiful full moon that comes in. The reason why I say beautiful is because it's Aquarian. And Aquarius energy is very beautiful. It can be challenging, but it is very beautiful energy. For those of you that have Aquarius energy heavy in your chart, you are probably having a lot of things go on in your life right now with Pluto there and some other energies, having conversations with that Pluto, and now this full moon. So this happens when Mars is opposite Neptune and it's just coming off that transit to Uranus, the trine, and it's also just gone into a new sign. So this is like a lot of energy to do with Mars. And what you want to do with this is that the transit promotes balance, it promotes that assertive drive, but it's got to be diplomatic in order to be effective. If you use if you use Mars in the lower octave of, I'm going to get my point across and I'm going to tell them a thing or two, it's going to backfire on you. You really want to use this full moon as intuitive insight. That's why I said a few minutes ago, sit with yourself. This is contemplative. This is about balancing things in our inner self before we configure through others. It's also very creative because don't forget, Mars in Libra is artistic. It is all about beauty. And in Aquarius, this full moon is also creating a lot of inspiration as far as what do I want to build? What do I need to release? What is my own individual idea of building? Do I want to build a house? Do I want to build an empire? Do I want to just have a child? Do I want to just go on a diet? Like, what is it that you want to build in the next chapter of your life in the next little while? This intuitive insight enhances our clarity. It will give us a deeper understanding that is beyond logic. So think about things in a very Neptunian or a very boundless way, because we do have Saturn there to catch us. We're not going to spin into outer space. Um, it stimulates our inspiration. It encourages innovative ideas and expression because it's Aquarian. So, like I said, we're coming on a dynamic first half of the month for anything creative, whatever it is you do. Even journaling is going to be so helpful in this energy as it reveals where your blockages are and what you really need to do. And the Mars opposite Neptune effect can make us very spiritually sensitive. That's why this month is a very heightened psychic month. Like I said, with some of the other transits that we have, this full moon is going to bring out the woo woo, very much so. It's going to also dreamlike visions with Mars opposing Neptune and Neptune right up against Saturn and then retrograde. And, we've got this Pluto and Aquarius retrograde, and this is really dream world might be really fantastic. If you use any kind of hallucinogenics or anything that you do, you want to be really careful because you can really go out of bounds in this. If you've got fantasies and things like that, you really want to be careful and make sure that you are definitely in a place where you are not going to go out of a bound. If you are a meditator and you love to meditate, you could be in a meditation for hours in this energy. It's just that type of like floating around. Thank goodness we have Saturn there to catch us, for gosh sakes. But some really cool energies that are coming in this month with these transits. And on the 11th, we have Mercury retrograde in Leo. It's still retrograde, but now on the 11th, it goes direct. And this is now a chance to look over everything that we have been doing since the last 6 weeks when Mercury was retrograde. It's going to ask us to revisit the projects that came through, to refine our communications, go back and look over things. Like I said, I've been writing, and now when Mercury goes direct around the middle of the month, 11th, 12th, I will go back and edit and reread anything before I post blogs or send anything anywhere, because this is really a time where you want to refine those creative projects that you've been doing. And also, it's a time for quiet contemplation. We do still have a lot of energy in retrograde. And so it's a time when we want to revisit and reboot and reroute, right? Find what is our new rooting in those things that we have, have had our passion ignited in the past and then put by the wayside. How can we reignite that? And those things also that no longer feel passionate to us, how can we gently and with love leave them behind? And that's really what this summer is about. It's a huge transition and transformation for many, many of us. Mercury retrograde also coming into direct at 4 degrees of Leo. So if anybody has anything in their charts about 4 degrees Leo, definitely look there, because that's going to be very heightened, especially on the 11th and 12th. And that Mercury retrograde transition is the shift to move forward. So if there's been any communication or creativity that's really been rough to get off the ground, you'll see a movement of that around this time. In my real estate life, I always note on the retrogrades and the new moons and the full moons, because many times it's so funny because you'll be in a negotiation on a deal or a business project or something, and it just can't get it off the ground. And as soon as something comes out of retrograde, like Mercury, for instance, it just, boom, everything just suddenly moves forward that day. It's almost like, with the new moon, especially too, when we're stuck in this grind and you can't get a closing date for something, and you can't get a closing date. As soon as the new moon comes, the closing date gets scheduled. It's unbelievable to watch. It's really cool. And then on the next day after that Mercury retrograde starts to move forward, Saturn sextiles Uranus and Venus conjuncts Jupiter. And this is a lot of breakthroughs. It's like all the energy that was breaking through for the last couple of months, and especially this month when, Uranus finally went into Gemini. Now in August, those things become more abundant. It's like the Saturn sextile Uranus influence suddenly becomes real, and we can feel not only air breathed into our ideals and the things we want to do, the things we want to move forward with, but we can also feel a little bit of that fiery energy from Saturn in Aries. And so it breathes fire and life into the things that have been dormant. And this can also go either way because it's in Cancer, which is the heart, right? And so the Venus conjunct Jupiter is in Cancer anyway, right the same day. And so what happens is it can go either way, this energy. It's a beautiful energy of breakthroughs and abundancy of love because it's heart based, but it also can be change of hearts. And, sometimes when that happens with Uranus, especially, we can be harsh in our words or in our deeds. So make sure that whatever comes forward for you in this energy, just sit with it for a little while. Don't make any snap discussions or decisions or actions. You really want to make sure that you're growing that, which is in alignment with you and your own personal agenda, your Aquarian individualism. There's so many things happening in this energy individual for us where people are coming in and they are seeing for the first time what they really want to do from a soul purpose point of view. And it's becoming almost like a movement in some ways. Like my tagline for Zenkuda is join the wave because it's the wave of individualism. It's the wave of like your soul space, like what are things to you? So a lot of times what I'm seeing in that energy is partners of people who maybe have had these breakthroughs can't understand. They're like all of a sudden energies that were in such alignment suddenly are not because it's very hard for two humans to grow together, right? Not just emotionally, but if they're in business together or any other way. So what I'm going to say is on whatever side, either side that you end up on, whether it's the person who is having the growth or the person who is kind of left in wonderment about that growth for that other person, and maybe you're kind of left behind or maybe you're trying to catch up. Compassion is the answer. We all have to be really compassionate with ourselves in this energy and with the other because there is no human on earth that has the same DNA and is going to react in the same way at the same speed to all of these changes that are happening in the world. And we must allow each other and ourselves our processes because they are not going to be the same. So don't go back to that old conditioning, those Capricorn horns that make us think, well, you're not doing it my way, so there's something wrong with you, right? The typical narcissism that whatever a narcissist says to you, what they're really saying is you should be more like me. So so don't get into that because there's going to be a lot of that in this energy also as people have to confront a shadow. And the reason it's all there is so that we can move forward in our lives. So these dates, August 12th, coming right off of that Mercury moving direct, and then Saturn sextiles Uranus, and then Venus goes conjunct with Jupiter, and Jupiter's just going to expand that Venus energy in Cancer. So it's heartfelt, it's beautiful, but it can also be that you find yourself, and maybe where you find yourself isn't where you're supposed to be. And you've got to make adjustments and make moves. And sometimes that doesn't always feel right for the person or people around you, but you have to do it with love and kindness. So I'm just going to put that out there. And remember these dates. And so we're going to talk about some practical integration using Zenkuda wisdom for your August alignment. And I've got a couple of things that I'm going to share with you. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit about the transits. And now I'm going to share with you some things that we can do in this energy to make sure that we're staying at our top potential and top energy field while we, navigate all of this. I'm going to give you some really good guidance. So let's go into the transits in particular, and then I'll give you some affirmations that you can use. So we talked about all those transits, and one of the transits we talked about quite a bit was that full moon in Aquarius. So this full moon is a cosmic call. And the cosmic call is, I'm just looking at my notes, is reboot and reroute. Because Pluto is a planet that wants us to transform. A lot of times it will bring us energy that's tough to go through, but it does that so that in that transformation, we find our real true self, especially in Aquarius, which is an energy of individualism. Who are you as an individual? What is unique about you? What are the goals that you want to have in your life? What do you want to build that is absolutely your legacy? But it can also be a call to release outdated group dynamics So if you find that your friend group is no longer really where you need to be, or maybe an organization or something that you always really enjoyed going to and interacting with is now not as passionate for you or now doesn't feel in alignment, that is absolutely normal in this energy. And the universe is calling you to a higher place, a place that's going to be supportive of your individualism and your uniqueness. So in this energy, the rebooting and rerouting means even though it's a reboot, and when you think about it, if you reboot your computer, you have to turn it off for a while, right? And then reboot. That's what we need to do in this energy. Around that time of that, Aquarius full moon, you're going to want to detach a little bit and go within, spend some quiet time with yourself, journal or meditate, or just take a walk somewhere and think about, have a cup of coffee on your patio and think about, like, where do I really belong? What feels right for me? Where is this energy taking me that can be a positive and an empowerment in my life? Because Pluto will show us where we're disempowered in order for us to get our own empowerment. So that's themes like that in that full moon are going to be outdated group dynamics and social roles. Maybe you're a president of an organization and you thought it was going to be really great, and now all of a sudden you're more or less like, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I feel like I want to resign. If that's what feels right for you, that's what the universe is calling you to do. So just remember that. So that full moon in Aquarius, which is August 9th, is really about finding stability in your soul. It's really about the Aquarian way of who am I really and where are my people? Where am I going to feel that I have support? And when it comes to group dynamics, what I've found, I'm a little bit older now, and my wisdom tells me I don't need 100 people around me. I don't need 50 people on a Friday night to feel like I have a friend group. One girlfriend over for a cup of tea is a friend, right? So now I used to have a lot of people that I called friends. I used to do a Christmas party where I had 100 people in my house. I had a tent that they would put up in the backyard, a heated tent and all this stuff. I have no need to do that anymore. I love everybody, but there are people that are my friends and there's people I'm friendly with. There's a difference. And sometimes we have to rein that in order to really find who the people who are supporting us are. Everybody wishes the best for everybody. That is not always true. There are some people who are envious or jealous or whatever, and that's fine. You don't have to take that energy on. But in a full moon like this, some of that may be revealed with your friend groups. August 12th, that's Saturn sextile Uranus energy. How to work with that. Well, that's an energy that's going to bring forward new systems. Like if there's anything you want to build, you're in business and you want to create your database, you're in business and you want a new marketing campaign. That is great for that. Because Saturn is the builder, Saturn is that wants to construct. Like I said, it will destruct stuff, but it will construct too, because Uranus is going to, be the awakener. Uranus likes to break things apart. So for those of you who follow my real estate career as well as Zenkuda, I just started a whole new ad campaign, which we're going to get to before the end of this Zoom. But this is an energy around that August 12th time when you want to, really release that, really go into that kind of an energy, because it's about making steady progress towards unconventional goals. Like maybe you've always done your marketing or your database or you've built your business a certain way, and now you're going to do it differently because you suddenly get a flash of intuition about how it should be, more in alignment with who you are now. It could also be that in a personal relationship or in something you like to do. Like maybe you're always known as the family baker and you've always baked for every occasion. And all of a sudden you wake up on August 11th and you're like, I don't ever want to go in the kitchen again. It's okay. It's the energy now. We are thinking about new systems and we're finding new ways to, and we're taking steady progress towards the unknown. It's a perfect energy to integrate your astrology into your life because, Uranus is definitely the great awakener, and astrology can be a really great way to bring you to a new place. And then the final one I want to talk about and give you some affirmations and help with is Venus conjunct Jupiter. This is definitely heart-based energy. It's on the same day as the one we just talked about, Saturn sextile Uranus. But Venus conjunct Jupiter is August 12th. They meet in Cancer, which is all heart energy. But also, if you're feeling very vulnerable, try to reach out to someone, even if it's just for a hug or to have a cup of coffee or just go for a swim or whatever it might be. Because when we're feeling vulnerable, sometimes Cancer energy can make us go in our shell and isolate. And you really don't want to do this in this energy because it's a great energy for building new things. So expand your relationships by really, branching out and growing emotionally in the middle of this month around that 11th, 12th time, because it's a green light for you to like go join a Reiki circle or go do something spiritual, or just if you love baseball, go play baseball with new people or whatever it might be. But it's a great time for us to integrate that vulnerability into a place where we can establish our own safety by sourcing our own stability, right? Um, and so it's a great time to do that. Nurturing our soulful expansion is that what I want to say, and that's what I have written down in my notes, especially in matters of heart and the home. So August 12th, I don't know what day of the week that is, but it's a great time to have people over for dinner or cook the big Sunday dinner if it's Sunday or whatever it is. So guided meditations are really good in this energy. You want to be able to maybe listen to something on YouTube or, some kind of if you go to yoga, a guided meditation that really talks about your own space of authenticity and brings that forward for you. In this energy, you want to link with that. We have a lot of spiritual energy combined with a lot of fire energy. So it's spiritual fire, right? When Neptune and Saturn come together in Aries, headed back to Pisces, that is spiritual fire. That is igniting our psychic ability. It's igniting our spiritual love. If you go into meditation and really want to connect with Source, you'll find the love there is just amplified. It's a really, really beautiful time. So those of you who follow my real estate career know that I have started to think about things in a much different way than I used to, and that I recently started a different type of campaign, and I'm going to just share with you one of my little graphics here. My tagline is Real Estate with Soul, Strategy, and Grace. And I have the infinity sign with this little house here, and I'm merging soul space with sold space. I work for a company called Signature Premier Properties here on Long Island, New York. And I thought about who I really am and authentically and what I bring to the table and what are the structures of what I want to build in my life. And I decided that I want to build a real estate career that is absolutely steeped in helping people find their soul space, just like I do here on the Soul Space podcast and with astrology and everything. But bringing that really beautiful strategy and grace that I've developed over the last 30 years, all the expertise and know-how I have being a top realtor, into helping people find a home with intention. Because I think there's a lot of energy in that particular field that maybe isn't so intentional. And so if you're looking for somebody to help you buy or sell a property or know anybody who is, and you really want someone who's intentional and going to look out for their best interests with a little bit of soul, then have them call me. So I am Georgia Rose. I am your psychic intuitive astrologer. And if you want to find out more about me, you can go on Zencuda on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook at Zencuda Soul Space, Instagram, Zencuda Official, and my website, zencuda.com, where you can book a reading with me, find out exactly what your soul space is. We can look at your chart and determine why you're here, the energies that are surrounding you. And like I said, my readings are not cookie cutter. My readings are very personalized and take on the evolution of your soul through your lifetime. So I hope you'll join me in those things. And if not, hope to see you back here next Monday at 7 o'clock in the Soul Space podcast. And please share the show. And if you haven't already subscribed, get on that YouTube channel because I'm going to be doing some lives there this week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.